Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is continuing to lose bullish momentum as the MACD indicator is getting extremely close to confirming a bearish crossover on the 3-day time frame. But in the shorter term, the price is now bouncing from this very important area of support as the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates are starting to flip negative, which we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Solana, which is now starting to confirm a new signal in the short term, alongside XRP also starting to confirm the same short-term signals. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, looking at the super trend indicator on the weekly time frame, because we could see that throughout the entire bull market here, the super trend, at least on the weekly chart, has remained in the green. So obviously, historically speaking, this has been essentially a bear market versus bull market indicator when we're looking at the weekly time frame here. And so for the most part, obviously, when this indicator is in the green, essentially we're in a larger bull market. And of course, we can see significant slowdown, significant crashes during a bull market, just like how during the 2022 bear market, for example, we could see a significant pump along the way towards the downside. And in case you're wondering, the point where this super trend indicator on the weekly time frame would flip back into the red would be at around $80,000 approximately. So if the price continues dumping all the way below 80,000 and especially below these previous lows at around 74, 75,000, that would be bear market territory, technically speaking, at least based on this indicator on this time frame. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the weekly Bitcoin MACD is still showing signs of weakness, slowing down the bullish momentum, as I've been saying every day for the last 1 to 2 weeks now. And the last couple of times we've seen something similar to what we are seeing right now in this indicator on this time frame was around December 2024 and also March 2024. So keep in mind, during those periods on the price chart, we saw basically the same signal in this indicator that we are seeing right now. And so obviously, if we're looking at the outcomes of these previous examples of this same signal playing out, of course, we did see mostly bearish to neutral price action over the next couple of months or so as the most likely outcome. As always, not guaranteed, but we're still showing signs of weakness here. And so especially if we confirm a bearish crossover on the weekly time frame, that obviously would be a bearish signal. And speaking about bearish signals, of course, we have a bearish divergence, which is technically confirmed on the weekly Bitcoin price chart. And so at least for now, we still have higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes and lower highs confirmed in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, which once again is another sign of weakness. This signal by itself means we should not be expecting any significant bullish momentum. And so yes, we could see some short-term bounces here and there, just like this on smaller time frames, but overall, when we're looking at the much larger moves on the weekly chart, at least for now, I'd not necessarily expect a massive high momentum movement towards the upside, at least not right now. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now the 3-day Bitcoin MACD is getting extremely close to confirming a new bearish crossover, which obviously would be a bearish signal. The last time that happened was around mid to late December 2024. And obviously what came next was, first of all, just a shorter term pullback and then a bit of choppy sideways price action, but ultimately a larger pullback over the next few months. And so overall, when we're talking about the momentum in the market, we just have to keep in mind, despite seeing short-term bounces, which I'll talk about in just a moment, the momentum is still not on the bullish side. We're still seeing weakness, at least for now. But with that being said, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, and obviously over the last one day, we perfectly bounced from this major area of support that I've been talking about, sitting in between around 101,000 to 102,000. So like I've said many times recently here on the channel, that is the point that we need to hold above. We need to bounce from this area in order to possibly still remain within this bullish trend on the daily time frame. Because once again, if we start confirming a break with candle closes below 101 to 102,000, in that situation, obviously that would be bearish price structure starting to form, breaking below this previous low at approximately 101,000. And in that situation, would likely see a drop down towards this golden pocket here, which would likely act as major support support, and that's sitting at around 96,000 to 98,000. But obviously right now, based on the daily candle closes, we're still holding on to this area of support in between 101,000 to 102,000, which obviously is the main area of support to pay attention to right now. And as for resistance, in case we see a bit more of a short-term bounce here, expect some resistance starting at close to 106,000, more resistance at 110,000, and of course 112,000 based on the all-time high. But despite the fact that we're currently bouncing in the short term from this very important area of support, technically speaking, on this 12-hour time frame, this bearish divergence is technically still active because we've not yet confirmed an invalidation signal to invalidate this bearish divergence, like for example a reversal starting to play out in the RSI. Now if for example we start to break out in the RSI, ideally above this previous high, and start to break out and start to form basically a new bullish trend in the 12-hour RSI, that would be a trend reversal signal for this bearish divergence, basically an invalidation signal for the bearish divergence, pointing towards potentially a little bit more of a short-term relief. But considering the fact that we have not yet confirmed that sort of signal here in the RSI, at least for now, once again, this bearish divergence is still active. We've not yet invalidated the bearish divergence, which means overall, we're likely going to continue to see weakness, at least in the short term. So yes, we could see little bounces from support levels, but not necessarily massive momentum towards the upside. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, obviously over the last couple of days, we already took out that area of liquidity to the downside, which was sitting at around 103,000. So we saw essentially a bit of a long squeeze here, liquidating some over leveraged long positions that were late to the party. But just over the last one day, obviously we haven't really taken out any significant points of liquidity. We simply just saw a bounce from this major area of support, obviously over the last one day. And in terms of other levels of liquidity to watch out for, honestly, we don't really have any significant levels that's relatively close to the price of Bitcoin here in the short term. And so we do have a small amount of liquidity starting to build at close to 107,000. And of course, that area still sitting at around 111,000. And we do have some small amount of liquidity here at close to 100,000. But at least for now, based on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, this is not really giving us a clear direction in the short term for the price of Bitcoin. So we just have to wait and see for the next area of liquidity to see actually where that starts to build. But for now, once again, no clear direction on this chart. So honestly, it is quite likely we're just going to lack momentum in the shorter term, potentially hold above this area now that we are bouncing from this area in between 101 to 102,000. But something else to watch out for is the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, because currently the Bitcoin funding rates in particular, and some of these funding rates for some of the altcoins, but especially the Bitcoin funding rates across multiple different exchanges, are starting to now flip into the negative. And so what this tells us is that there's currently a high demand to short Bitcoin and not many people interested in longing Bitcoin. And basically people are accumulating Bitcoin on the spot market and then selling Bitcoin on the derivatives market. So shorting Bitcoin essentially, which is basically adding a premium in order to short Bitcoin, because when the funding rates are negative, you have to pay extra funding fees as a short position, and you're paying those fees to the long positions. And so when it comes to my trading strategy currently, we could see over on 2bit, currently as of recording this video, the funding rate is at exactly 0, but just earlier before I started recording, it was slightly negative. And so this means with me in a long position here, essentially I'm earning funding fees when the funding rate is negative. And we could see that over the last one day, obviously the price of Bitcoin came very close to hitting the stop loss and closing this trade. But obviously based on where my stop loss is sitting at, it's just below a key point of support. Once again, as I've said many times here on the channel recently, we have a lot of support at around 101 to 102,000. So I have my stop loss just below that level of support, so that if we were to actually break below that area, would likely continue going lower. And so essentially that stop loss would just automatically exit me out of the trade at that level in that more bearish scenario here if the price just keeps dumping. But once again, considering it's just below a key point of support, obviously we bounced at that support before hitting the stop loss. And so this is why I always place my stop loss just below key points on the price chart in the case of a long position. Obviously with the short position, it would be the opposite direction. So just above a key point of resistance, for example, is where I'd have a stop loss in the case of a short position. And now if you're new to the channel, you might be wondering why I'm even in a long position, considering what I've been saying recently here on the channel about Bitcoin clearly lacking momentum in the shorter term, lacking bullish bullish momentum. Why am I longing the price of Bitcoin if that's the case? And well, it's simply because the price is technically still within a bullish trend on the daily time frame. Like I've said many times here on the channel, this would only potentially confirm a trend reversal once we actually confirm a break below this area on the price chart at 101 to 102,000. And so ever since we got the confirmation of a bullish trend reversal from the previous bearish trend into a new bullish trend at that breakout at 88,000, obviously that's precisely where I entered this trade, as you can see right here on my 2-bit account. And then every day since then, every day since I entered the trade at around 88,000, I've been saying I'm long on the price of Bitcoin, long on the price of Bitcoin, long on the price of Bitcoin. And once again, I'd only close that trade altogether if we confirm a trend reversal signal, a major change in price structure, like a confirmed break below around 101,000. But obviously, at least for now, that has not yet happened. And obviously, as you can see here, I'm not paying any funding fees in order to keep this trade open. In fact, if the funding rates go further negative over on 2-bit, and they're already starting to do this on other exchanges, obviously I'll be earning funding fees, earning passive income just by holding this long position. And so that is still my trading strategy. Obviously, nothing's changed over the last one day. My realized profits still the same for this trade. And of course, if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities in the price of any crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking this trade right here over on 2-bit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to 2-bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses. Like for example, up to $50,000 you can claim using the link below this video just by trading crypto. But if you're not one of these larger traders here, you can also get a $30 sign up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your 2-bit account, but only if you use that link. And in case you're wondering, 2-bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2-bit as an exchange, there's also BTNex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to BTNex below this video. And if you use that link below this video, you can get a massive fee discount that's only available using that link. We're talking a 10% discount on all trading fees forever over on the BTNex exchange. That's a lifetime fee discount that's only available using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, the first and second link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNex is also a no KYC exchange. And so overall, that is my exact trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin, showing very transparently what I'm doing with my own money. And of course, those are my expectations moving forward in the short term for Bitcoin, basically lacking momentum, but still holding above that key support now that we have just bounced from this support level. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, it's a very similar situation for Ethereum. Obviously, we're lacking bullish momentum. As I've been saying for weeks now on the channel, we're basically in a sideways price range, but we're still holding above this key point of support based on this retracement level here, sitting at close to 2.4K. And so for now, once again, that is still the support to pay attention to. It's really sitting at around 2380 to 2390. So once again, close to 2.4K, just under 2.4K as the key support to watch out for. But if we start confirming daily candle closes below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above that level by seeing some sort of a rejection like that, for example, in that situation, we'll likely see a move down towards around 2.1K or possibly even around 1.8K if these other support levels fail. But obviously, at least for now, we are currently finding support at close to 2.4K, currently seeing at least a short-term bounce as I record in this video, which means we're still simply in the sideways price range, just bouncing around sideways between support and resistance. And of course, this area of resistance has not changed over the last one day. It's still sitting in between 2.7K to 2.8K. But honestly, not a lot has changed for Ethereum over the last one day. So getting straight into the price of Solana on the daily time frame. And obviously for now, Solana is still playing out bearish price structure on the daily chart, but in the immediate short term, we're running into very important support. And at least for now, currently seeing a short-term short-term bounce from this point of support, and that support, as I've said many times recently, is sitting at around 143 to 146, and based on this daily candle close, that's exactly where we've currently bounced from. But if, for example, we start confirming daily candle closes below around 143, give or take, below this previous low, in that situation, we would likely see a drop down towards around 133 and also potentially down towards around 124 to 125 as the next key points of support, the next major points of support. And obviously for now, even though the price is bouncing from support in the short term, technically this larger price structure is still currently bearish. But if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 8-hour time frame, technically speaking, we now actually have two confirmation signals to help to confirm this new bullish divergence just on the 8-hour time frame once again, with obviously two candle closes here confirming the higher low in place in the RSI. So we clearly have lower lows confirmed in the price and higher lows confirmed now in the RSI, which means we're most likely going to see just a short-term break, a short-term relief from all of this bearish price action here. And this will most likely play out over a few days, give or take, maybe up to a week, but most likely just for a few days. We're going to see either a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief as the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. So basically a break from all of this bearish price action just in the short term here. And so those are my expectations in the shorter term for the price of Solana and of course the larger price structure. And as for resistance to watch out for in case we see a bit more of a bounce here, I would expect resistance at around 158 to 159, more resistance at around 165, and of course major resistance at 180 and 184. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, obviously over the last one day we just broke below this key point of support, which was sitting at around $2.14. But if we're looking at the daily candle close, it confirmed pretty much right on $2.10 to the nearest cent. It was around $2.10 as we could see, which means we're still just holding on to this support. Obviously, we had this area of support in between around 210 to 215. So for now, obviously, we're still holding that area and currently seeing a bit of a short-term bounce. And of course, as I've said recently, if we break below around 210 to 215, we also have a bit of support to watch out for at around $2.05 and also at around $2. And then obviously, if we start breaking below all of those levels, below $2, in that situation, we can start targeting around $1.80 or below. And as for resistance, of course, these levels have not changed over the last one day. So we still have resistance in between around 230 to 234, more resistance at 244, and major resistance in between 256 to 262. And technically speaking, over the last one day, we've now seen an invalidation signal to invalidate this head and shoulders pattern, because obviously we already formed the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder, and then broke below the neckline. But now that we're breaking out back above the neckline, as always, that is the invalidation signal to watch out for. So technically speaking, especially if we now confirm the daily candle close back above around 214 to 215, this will technically invalidate this head and shoulders pattern for the price of XRP. And that will likely happen now. We'll likely invalidate this head and shoulders pattern now that we've just confirmed a new signal in the short term for the price of XRP, which is of course a new bullish divergence on the 8-hour time frame, because we've now confirmed lower lows in the price in the candle closes, and we've now also confirmed higher lows in the 8-hour XRP RSI with two confirmation signals. And so technically speaking, this shorter term bullish divergence means we're most likely going to see either a slight bullish relief like this or potentially just a bit of choppy sideways price action. So basically a break or a relief from all of this bearish price action here is likely going to play out over the next few days. And so overall, that is my expectation now in the shorter term for the price of XRP based on this new signal that's just confirmed. And of course, we do have points of resistance to watch out for. As I said earlier, these points, and of course, we do have this high to watch out for at around 226 to 227 that could also likely act as resistance. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a similar situation for Chainlink. Technically, the price structure is still currently bearish. We're forming lower highs and lower lows on the daily time frame. So at least for now, that is still the situation, still in a bearish trend. But if we're looking at the shorter term, we are now bouncing from this very important level of support, this Fibonacci level, which is sitting at around $12.80. And obviously that $12.80 level is what I've been talking about basically since the moment we broke below around $14.90. Obviously, we had very important support here in between $14.90 to $15.50. And once we broke that, that rapidly increased the probability that we'll see a drop down towards around around 1280, and obviously that is exactly played out now. And so I'll now continue to expect a lot of support at $12.80, considering obviously we've just now seen another bounce from that level, as we've seen many times previously. But if we were to actually see a confirmed break with candle closes below 1280, in that situation I would expect a bit of support at around 1220. But if we start breaking below both of these levels, in that situation it's quite likely it would return to below $11, around $10 to $11 as the next major area of support. But remember, at least for now, we are currently holding above 1280, which means continue to expect a lot of support at 1280. And in fact, I'd not necessarily expect to break below that level, at least for a few days. We're most likely going to see just a bit of a short-term relief from all of this bearish price action here. And so once again, not necessarily a massive amount of bullish momentum. We're still lacking bullish momentum, still seeing larger bearish price structure, but just in the immediate short term here, talking about the next few days, expect a bit of a break from the bearish price action. And if we actually see a little bit more of a bounce here, expect resistance at roughly around 1410 to 1420, and above that, major resistance in between 1490 to 1550. And so those are my expectations in the shorter term, and of course the larger price structure and the key points to watch out for on the price chart. And of course, if you want to get set up ready to go to take the next trading opportunity for the price of any crypto, obviously get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto to make a lot of easy profits in the market no matter what the price is doing, like what I'm doing right here, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.